out there to get him out of jail. So, but I thank Jeffrey for bringing us in and helping us out. And I think we're definitely ready to go. Let's see. Sandy, do you remember who davened last Shabbat?
Yes, Susan did, and Susan and I did the week before. So it's time for a new cycle, or it's Ruth Ann's turn.
Ruth Ann, you're on page 558. We begin with Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha. Hi, Lisa. Shabbat Shalom. Marshall, it's Shabbos.
Well, I was trying to get on. I was sat there for like almost 10 minutes.
All right. Jeff
Same here.
deserves enormous, certainly for me, admiration and awe.
I was ready to close.
Okay, 558, bevakasha, Ruth Ann.
Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha, Od Yehallelucha Selah.
Shem Shekachanu, Hashem Shadanu Elohav.
Tehillah David, Aramimcha Elohai Hamelech Rabbcha Shimcha Leolam Va'ed.
Ol Yom Avacheka, V'la Shimcha Leolam Va'ed.
Yado Adonai Emalamed, V'lida L'Dawein Cheker.
Ol Ledo Yeshabach Ma'asecha, Rutecha Yagidu.
Adar Kavod Hodecha, V'divrei Niflotecha Asicha.
V'zinotecha Yameru, G'dolacha Sefrena.
Zecher Rav Tuvacha Yabi, V'tzikatecha Yiranenu.
Nemach Adonai, Yachapanu Idol Chased.
Evan Lako, V'racham Abo Kol Masav.
V'neka Ma'asecha, Chasidecha Yevachucha.
V'ed Malchutecha Yameru, V'uratecha Yidaberu.
Yelim Yadam Gvotav, Chod Adam Malchuto.
Malchutecha Malchut Kol Amim, Mem Shaltecha B'chol Dor V'Ador.
אנחנו הנופלים וזוקף לכל הכופים.
עיניך ואליך יסברו, ואתה נותן להם את אוכלם בעיתו.
קח את ידיך משביע לכל חי רצון.
צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו, וחסיד בכל מעשיו.
העונה לכל קוראיו, וכל אשר יקראו ואמת.
רצון רב יעשה, ואת שבתם ישמע ויושיעם.
לאדוני את כל אוהביו ואת כל אשרים ישמיע.
תהילה אדוני ידבר פיו, יברך בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד.
אנחנו נברך ים, מעתה ועד עולם, הללויה.
אנחנו נברך ים, מעתה ועד עולם, הללויה. ובא לציון.
Page 560, the bottom paragraph.
ויבדחו בך ידי שמך, כי לא עזבת דרשך אדוני, אדוני חפץ למען צדקו, יגדיל תרבי האדיר, יקדש ויקדש מרבה.
Amen.
יעמד יברח ירותי, וימליך מלכותי, וחייכון ויומכון, וחיי לכל בית ישראל. Bagala bizman kariv yimaru, amen.
Yehi shmei rabam v'orach, l'olam v'maya.
Yehi shmei rabam v'orach, l'olam v'maya. Maya yitbarak v'yishtabak, v'yitbar v'yiramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev, v'yitalal shmei l'kudesha. Le'lam min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata damiran v'yamaha v'yimaru.
Amen. We turn to page 566, Seder Hotza'at HaTorah.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, u'davar Adonai miRushalayim, Baruch Shanatan Torah Torah, Baruch Shanatan Torah Torah, Le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Godlu l'Adonai iti u'neramim hashmo yaktav. Lecha Adonai hagedula b'hagevura b'hatiferet b'hanetzach b'hahod kicho b'shamayim u'ba'aretz. Lecha Adonai hamamlecha b'hatmit naseh l'chol l'rosh. Ramimu, Ramimu, Adonai Eloheinu, V'hishtachavu, V'hishtachavu, Lahadam Raglav Kadoshu. Ramimu, Ramimu, Adonai Eloheinu, V'hishtachavu, V'hishtachavu, Lahar Kodsho. Yikadosh Adonai Eloheinu. V'atem hadvekim b'Adonai Elohechem, chayim kolchem hayom.
Thank you, Ruth Ann. We are going to begin the reading from the book of Vayikra, Leviticus. It's called also Torat Kohanim, the book of instructions for the priest, the priestly code, because it's so full of detailed instructions of the series of complicated offerings brought in the temple. And tradition tells us that this is the first book that was taught to young children. And the reason is because it's pure. Both the book of Genesis and Exodus has a lot of, serious stuff, rated stuff, sexual and violent, and the feeling is maybe we shouldn't introduce young minds to such difficult, complicated, and painful subjects. Instead, we will teach them the laws of purity and impurity. And the Talmud phrases it, Yavo tehorim ve'ilmidu divrei tahara. Let the pure ones come and study matters of purity. Of course, the irony is that here we are today, and we have really not much to do with offerings. However, the expression "ve'ahavta l're'acha kamocha," love your fellow man as you do yourself, tzedek tzedek tirdof, and other such lofty and beautiful ideals are expressed in the book of Vayikra. So that's where we're going to start. And now that we have the tabernacle established and set up and ready to go, we are going to proceed with the details of instruction how to perform the various services in the temple. And in the temple, in the tabernacle, which is a portable temple, it was sort of a shock to me to learn there were no prayers as such. There was no Siddur. You know, when you come to any synagogue, there will be a Siddur and there'll be a Chumash. In the temple and the tabernacle, there was no Siddur and there was no Chumash. The main act of holiness was offering animals, slaughtering them, butchering them, cutting them up, and bringing up as offers to God on the temple. Just saying. We begin with the first Aliyah, and Sandy, would you be kind enough to read for us chapter 1, verse 1 in the book of Vayikra. Jeffrey, what page is that in the Chumash?
In Eitz Chaim, it's page 585, and in Hertz, it's page 411.
Just curious, anybody have a Hertz Chumash and not a Eitz Chaim? Okay, just want to get an idea. Before we begin, Sandy, would you please do the bracha for the Kiyah?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
Vayikra el Moshe vayedaber Adonai elav me'ohel moed lemor daber el b'nei Yisrael v'marta lehem Adam ki yakriv mikem karban ladonai min habehema min habakar umin hatzon takrivu et karbanchem im ola karbano min habakar zachar tamim yakrivenu al petach ohel moed yakriv oto lirtzono lifnei Adonai v'samach yado al rosh ha'olah v'nirtzalo lechaper alav.
Beautiful. Thank you. I wanted to point out again something that I learned and was important to me, and I imagine it might be important to you. The word for a korban is not sacrifice, it is offering. The word sacrifice is an idea that was borrowed from Christian influence. What was brought in the temple and in the tabernacle were offerings to God, not sacrifices, not sacrifices. Jeffrey, would you please read for us, sir?
The Lord called to Moses and spoke to him from the tent of meeting, saying, "Speak to the Israelite people and say to them, when any of you presents an offering of cattle to the Lord, he shall choose his offering from the herd or from the flock. If his offering is a burnt offering from the herd, he shall make his offering a male without blemish. He shall bring it to the entrance of the tent of meeting for acceptance on his behalf before the Lord. He shall lay his hand upon the head of the burnt offering, that it may be acceptable in his behalf, in expiation for him."
Beautiful. Thank you, Jeffrey. There are many important ideas, but now is not the time to review them. But we are watching the fundamental national spiritual process of the nation Israel. Let me see. Marshall, you have your side tonight? Would you unmute, please?
Yes, for my father,
For your father. What is your father's name, please?
Jesse Isaac Janoff.
Right. Would you share with us a memory or a lesson that you learned from your father?
He was a very good man, an honorable man, and he worked very hard. And I could say he loves his family very much, Moshe.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd love to hear so much more. Was his father an immigrant or was he an immigrant?
His father, and yes, his father was an immigrant. He escaped from Ukraine or Russia. He was in the army, left with his brother.
Wow. What position did he hold in the army?
I don't know, but he was I think on the wrong end of a stick, because they would punish him. And so the story was it was so bad that they left.
Wow.
And I think they went to Canada and then ended up in Pennsylvania. Some of the family was Janofsky, some of it was Janoff,
Right.
and they ended up here in Baltimore.
Beautiful. Well, if you get a chance, you can get. There's an incredible story. Spielberg is waiting. Really, seriously, it's wow. A Jew in the Ukrainian army. Wow. What is Dad's Hebrew name, please?
It's Yitzchak Yaakov Ben Nathan.
And do you remember his mother's name?
Sophie.
Sophie.
That's
Excellent. Sophie is good. It's a nice Jewish name.
yeah,
We will make a
It is.
memorial prayer that consecrates his living present memory. And thank you. El Malachim Shochein Bamromin Amtsei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina B'ma'alot Kedoshim U'Teorim כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת יצחק יעקב בן נתן וסופי שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן תהי מנוחתו. אנא בעל הרחמים הסתירהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים וצור בצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו וינוח בשלום במשכבו ונאמר Amen. Thank you, Marsha. Marsha, how old was Dad when he died?
Oh, I think it was like 83 or 84. Wait a minute, I'll tell you.
And
Get the
where
right
is he
pick.
born? I'm sorry, where
He
is
was born in Pennsylvania.
Right? No, where was he buried?
Oh, he's buried in the Beth Jacob Bethel in Finksburg. He was 85 years old.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Marsha. And the more you find out, because please God, next year I'm going to ask you the same things. And maybe you can add a little bit more to that.
By next year, I'll forget what I said this year, so it'll be new.
All right. Okay. Ruth Ann, would you please read for us the second Aliyah? It's chapter 1, verse 5 in Leviticus.
ושחט את בן הבקר לפני אדוני, והקריב בני אהרון הכהנים את הדם, וזרקו את הדם על המזבח סביב, אשר פתח אוהל מועד, והפשיט את העולה, וניתח אותה לנתחיה, ונתנו בני אהרון הכהן אש על המזבח, וערכו עצים על האש, וערכו בני אהרון הכהנים את הנתחים, את הראש ואת הפדר, על העצים אשר על האש, אשר על המזבח, בקרבו וכרעיו ירחץ במים, והקטיר הכהן את הכל המזבחה, עולה אשר ריח ניחוח לאדוני.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Jeffrey, would you please translate?
The bulls shall be slaughtered before the Lord, and Aaron's sons, the priests, shall offer the blood, dashing the blood against all sides of the altar, which is at the entrance of the tent of meeting. The burnt offering shall be flayed and cut up into sections. The sons of Aaron, the priests, shall put fire on the altar and lay out wood upon the fire. And Aaron's sons, the priests, shall lay out the sections with the head and the suet on the wood that is on the fire upon the altar. Its entrails and legs shall be washed with water, and the priest shall turn the whole into smoke on the altar as a burnt offering, an offering by fire of pleasing odor to the Lord.
Okay. So you can understand that on the one hand, there was the common expression of sacred worship to God. You bring an animal, you bring the offering to God, you burn the animal on a fire, and Abel and Cain also play out that, how do you serve God? Abel, who brought animals, was loved and accepted by God, but Cain, who brought vegetables, was not so much. And then, of course, Cain ends up murdering Abel. So there is much to study and consider here. Is there somebody else that has a yard site today that, Ralph, have we gone past Shloshim for your dad? Okay, did we make a askara for your dad?
You did.
Thank you. Anybody else has, Aliza, when is Shloshim coming up for you?
We just finished on Wednesday.
Did anyone make an askara for mom at,
So, no, I gave a Devar Torah at services Wednesday morning. That's how we commemorated it.
okay, do you mind if I make a memorial for mom?
That's fine. That's fine. Devorah bat Aharon ben Sion v'Chana Shprinza.
Devorah bat
Aharon ben Sion v'Chana Shprinza.
El Malachimim, Shochein Bamomim, Hamtzei Menucha Nechona, תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת, one more time.
Devorah bat Aharon ben Sion v'Chana Shprinza.
את נשמת דבורה בת אהרון בן ציון וחנה שפרינצה שהלכה לעולמה בגן עדן תהי מנוחתה. אנא ברחמים הסתיריה בסתר כנפיך לעולמים וצור בצרור החיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה ותנוע בשלום המשכבה ונאמר amen. So Aliza, do you think you'd be up to doing Marif tonight, or it's too early, too soon, some other time?
But you know what? Maybe my brother wants to do Ma'ariv.
Okay.
I read Torah and half Torah this
Oh,
morning.
okay.
So it's time to put Ben to work.
All
I'd be
right,
happy to do
Ben,
it.
You
Sure.
can do it? All right, so that's set. All right, we go on to the third aliyah. Randy, you think you're up to it?
Sure, 10 through what?
It's verse 10 through 13, just 3 verses, 3 long verses.
Ve'imin hazon karpano min hakesavim o min ha'izim le'ola zachar tamim yakrivenu v'shachatoto al yerech hamizbeach safona bifnei Adonai v'zaku b'nei Aharon hakohanim et damo al hamizbeach saviv v'nitach oto lintachav ve'et rosho ve'et pidro ve'arach hakohen otam al ha'etzim asher al ha'esh asher al hamizbeach ve'hakerev ve'hakira'ayim yerchatz b'mayim ve'hikriv hakohen et hakol ve'hiktir hamizbeach hamizbecha ola hu ishe re'ach nicha'ach ladonai.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you. Jeffrey, translate.
If his offering for a burnt offering is from the flock of sheep or of goats, he shall make his offering a male without blemish. It shall be slaughtered before the Lord on the north side of the altar, and Aaron's sons, the priests, shall dash its blood against all sides of the altar. When it has been cut up into sections, the priest shall lay them out, with the head in the suet, on the wood that is on the fire upon the altar. The entrails and the leg shall be washed with water. The priest shall offer up and turn the whole into smoke on the altar. It is a burnt offering, an offering by fire of pleasing odor to the Lord.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Moshe, I believe Robin is observing yahrzeit for her
Yeah.
father.
Hi,
correct?
Robin. Shabbat Shalom. Who's the yahrzeit for?
Jack, me,
Yeah. And what's his Hebrew name, please?
Yaakov, let's see, Ben, Devorah, and Fischel.
Jacob and Fischel Dvorah. Would you share with us a memory, a lesson that you learned from Dad, please?
I believe I learned from my father to just be a good person.
Beautiful. I was a wonderful person, indeed, indeed. How many years now?
2.
Wow. Jacob and Fischel Dvorah. Here we are. Yamare Rachamim, Shochem Baromin. המציא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הקיע מזהירים את נשמת יעקב בן פישל דבורה שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן תהא מנוחתו. אנא בעל הרחמים, הסתירהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום המשכבו, ונאמר amen. Jeffrey, is there somebody else who needs a, no, we are good to go. All right. Ruthann, please proceed with, let me see, on page 570, I believe.
Okay.
We
Page
rise.
five.
לקחתו נתתי לכם. הבא עץ חיים היא.
כי לקחתם נתתי לכם תורתי על העזבו. את חיים היא למחזיקים בה, ותמכיה מאושר. דרכיה דרכי נועם, וכל נתיבותיה שלום. השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה. קדש, קדש ימינו, קדש ימינו,
We rise, חצי קדיש, 572.
יתקדש ויקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
יעמד דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכם ובימיכם ובחיי לכל בית ישראל. בהגלה, בהגלה, ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. שמי רבה מברך לעולם לעולם היה.
יתברך.
יתברך וישתבח, יתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה.
וכו.
להילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה, Tishbechata b'nechemata damiran b'yama le'imeru amen.
We're going to recite the Amidah silently, and then we'll do a full repetition. We begin on page 574, silently to the end. We continue with the repetition. If you're still reciting the Amidah, please do so. If not, we begin on the inside back cover back to 574 through the Kedusha, and then we'll conclude for all of us. We rise, repetition.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Nerah Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim B'Konei HaKol V'Zocher Chasdei Abot V'mevika Lifnei B'neihem L'man Shemo B'Yahava Melech Hazer V'Kedem Moshe Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Abraham V'Ked Sarah
Amen.
Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayem Eitim Atarav Le'Hoshia Mashiv HaRuach Emerid HaGashem Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechayim Etim Berachamim Rabihim, Somech Noflim Berufech Olim Umatir Asurihim, Mekayim Amenateli Shenei Afar, Mechamelcha Baal Gevurah Tumid Melach, Melech Memid Mechayehu Matzmeach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Atah L'Chayet Metim, Baruch atah Adonai, Yechayeh HaMetim.
Amen. We rise 576. Kadesh V'Hadolam, Shem Shemo Yishemot HaVishmei Ma'om, K'Kedav Yecha, Azel Zeh V'Yamah.
Nikadesh Shemcha Ba'olam, Kishem Shemakti Shemo Tabishme Marom, Kakatuva Yad Nevi'echa, V'kara Zel Amar.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, L'chol haaretz kevodo, L'umatam Baruch Yimeiru.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Malach haaretz kevodo, L'umatam Baruch Yimeiru.
Baruch kevod Adonai mimkomo, דברי קודשך כתוב לאמור.
Baruch kavod Adonai mimkamo, v'divrei kodesh katuv lemor.
ימלוך אדוני לעולם, מלכייך ציון לדור ודור, הללויה.
Yimloch Adonai leolam, Elohai Zion l'Rovador, hallelujah. L'dor vador, nagid god lecha, le'netzach nitzachim. Kedushak decha nakdish, v'shivacha Eloheinu, mipinu, lo yamush le'olam vahed. Ki el melech gadol v'kadosh ata, baruch atah Adonai.
Shema.
Ahel HaKadosh.
Amen. May be seated, page 578.
Ata echad b'shimcha echad, v'mi ke'amcha Yisrael, v'mi ke'amcha Yisrael, goy echad ba'aretz, tiferet gedula, v'ateret Yeshua. Yom menucha hukdusha le'amcha natata. Yom menucha hukdusha le'amcha natata. Abraham Yagel Yitzchak Yiranen. Yaakov uvanav yanuchuvo. Yaakov uvanav yanuchuvo. Menucha ahava hunadava. Menuchat emet v'emunah, menuchat shalom v'shalva, v'ashket v'betach, menucha shlema she'ata rotzeh baha, yakir banecha v'yedu ki meitchahi menuchatam, v'al menuchatam yakdishu et shemecha, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'tzevi menuchatenu. Kadshena b'mitzvotecha v'tein chelkena b'toratecha, sabena mituvecha v'samchena b'shuatecha, v'taher libeinu li'avdecha b'yamet, v'anechilenu Adonai Eloheinu, v'yahva v'ratzon shabbat kodshecha, v'yanuchu v'yisrael mekadeshei shemecha, Baruch atah Adonai,
Shema.
Mekadesh HaShabbat,
Amen.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu, B'yamcha Yisrael v'tfilatam, V'ashevet havada livir beitecha, V'tfilatam b'yavad tikabel b'ratzon, V'tehil ratzon tamid, Avodat Yisrael Amecha, V'techet zenenet b'shuvacha l'tzion b'rachamim, Baruch atah Adonai,
Shema.
Amachazir shkinato l'tzion,
Amen.
modim anachnu lach.
Page 580.
Hatov kilo chalu rachamecha, v'hamarachim kilo tamu chasadecha, me'olam kivinu lach. V'al kulam yiparak v'yitramam shimcha malkeinu tamei le'olam vahed. V'chol hachayim yoducha tzela v'halalu et shimcha b'yamet. Ha'el Yeshuatenu b'yezratenu sela, Baruch atah Adonai.
Shema.
Atav shimcha ochanu Elohotod.
Amen.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, V'yal kol yoshvei tevel tasim le'olam. Ki atah melech adon l'chol hashalom. V'tov b'einecha livarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol etu b'chol shar b'shlomecha. Baruch atah Adonai,
Shemo.
Amavarech et Amo Yisrael. Shalom.
Amen. Page 596, Kaddish Shalom.
Yikadav Yikadav Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Yom Hadibrach Yirite Yom Lich Malchute B'chayechem Yemechem V'B'chayedecho Beit Yisrael Bagala B'Zman Karib Yimaru. Amen. Yesh Me Rabbah Mevarach Le'olam Olam Maya Yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitala shemei kudusha v'richu le'la min kol berchata v'shirata tishbachata v'nechamata namiran b'yamha b'yimeru. Amen. Take about Salotun, Ubatahun, the Chai Yisrael, Kadam, Havahun, Vishmaya, Bimaru.
Amen.
Yehish Lama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu V'yal Kol Yisrael V'yimaru. Amen. Yoseh Shalom B'mramaha, Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu V'yal Kol Yisrael V'yimaru.
Amen.
Aleinu L'shabeach L'adon HaKol, L'tekedu L'yotzer Breshit, Shelo Hatzanu K'goyei Haratzot, V'lo Samanu K'mishpachot Ha'adama, Shelo Sam Chelkenu Kahem, V'gahar Aleinu K'chol HaMenam, V'hanachnu Karim, U'mishtachavim U'modim, Lifnei Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ki hamalchut shachahi u'me'atim lok bechavod takatu b'toratech Adonai yimlok le'olam vahed v'nehemar v'haya Adonai le'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad Ushemo, Ushemo, Ushemo Echad, Ushemo Echad.
We recall with love those who gave us life and those who shared life with us, who continue to be a presence in our lives, whose yahrzeit is the 29th of Adar, Shabbat, March 13th, 2021. The following names are listed in our perpetual memorials at Chizuk Amuno and are inscribed in our hearts and our souls. Iris Biederman, Isidore Kaplan, Jacob Cohen, Samuel Cohen, Deborah Cohen, Louis Elovich, Israel Engel, Lena Gamson, Gertrude Goldberg, Minerva Heyman, Harry Kessler, Abe King, Hazel Krisman, Rose Leibovitz, Vera Lebeau, Clara Lipsitz, Nathan Mash, Henry Miller, Jack Needle, Aaron Pearl, Bessie Pleat, Thelma Rothman, Gertrude Rosen, Evelyn Sandler, Leah Silberstein, Jack Saraski, Lillian Woolen. Yahrzeit in Mourner's Kaddish, page 600. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'almad livrach herutei ve'yamlich machutei, v'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayei b'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv ve'mo amen. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה לאמירם בעלמה ועמו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועמו אמן. עושה שלום ממרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועמו אמן. Thank Ruth Ann for, yes, Ruth
I
Ann?
have a question. Are they putting the yard sites for the 30th of Adar into 1 Nissan this year?
We got a note from Ann Young that, and I have to check, I mean, that's clearly what they're doing. Judy Simkin is following something that we used to do, and Ann Young is doing something else. We need to reconcile the differences, but I imagine that Ann Young has checked with the rabbis to decide it. Before we do the evening service, Eliza, would you take just a brief moment and share with us the Dvar Torah that you gave in honor of Mom Shloshim?
Oh, it's actually, it's a one long page. You want me to read the whole thing?
No, just tell us what
Okay,
the point is.
so
what
the
takeaway
essence is, I piggybacked off of V'yakhel Pekudei, which was this past week's parasha. And in V'yakhel Pekudei, one of the key, I guess, attributes of the Mishkan is it's made with all of these wonderful materials, crimson, gold, I guess it's crimson, blue, and purple, and gold, and silver, and jewels, and all that kind of stuff. So it's really our first example of Hidur Mitzvah. And my mother was probably such a proponent of Hidur Mitzvah. For any of you that knew her, she had a business, J&B Distinctive Judaica, which she had out of the lower level of her home. And her tagline was, where the unusual is usual. And because she loved selling the Judaica, but really seeing people embrace unique Judaica so they could beautify, Hidur Mitzvah, for those of you who don't know, means beautification of the mitzvah. And you're bringing an elevated sense to performing the mitzvot because you're bringing this level of beauty to it. So through the Judaica that she sold, which was absolutely gorgeous, she was able to share that with others so that they could beautify observance of the mitzvot in their homes, and elevate their own observance of the mitzvot. And she also, the other analogy that I drew was Bezalel and Oholiav, who were the sort of the brains and the architects of the Mishkan. There's also a phrase in the parasha that refers to them as being teachers as well. So they didn't just, it says, Lahorot Natan Belibo, to teach that which is given in the heart. That's also translated as to give directions. So like them, my mother was a teacher, and when you bought Judaica from her, you got the whole barrel experience. You didn't just, you didn't just go in there and buy a Kiddush cup without really understanding, the artistry and the artist and how to use it and all sorts of things. So like Bezalel and Holiav, she also, brought that teaching to things. So that was really how I tied one aspect, and that's just one aspect of my mother, to this past week's parasha.
Beautiful. And I say that pun intended, beautiful. It's a beautiful presentation. Thank you so much, Elisa. It was really touching and mindful. We rise as we do Mariv on page 200. A reminder that tonight begins Rosh Chodesh Nisan. And in 2 weeks, we'll be sitting at the Seder table. And We rise, page 200. Ben, thank you so much for leading us.
I'm honored. והוא רחום יכפר עוון ולא ישיב, והרבה להשיב אפו ולא יאיר כל חמתו, אדוני הושיע, המלך יעננו ויום קוראנו. ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
May be seated.
El חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב הרבים.
Amen.
ויעברך תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל.
Amen.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levavecha, b'chol nafshecha, b'chol meodecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'el, asher anochi mitzavecha, hayom al levavecha, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ושכבך ובנך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו תותפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
Beautiful sound.
It's my monkey. She looks like a dog, though. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר בני ישראל ואמרת אליהם ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לתורתם ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל תכלת והיה לכם בציצית פריתם אותו לזרעכם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי הייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת. ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם, משה בני ישראל, לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. נאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהים, שלום למידי מלכים. לשמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני, שומר עמו ישראל לעד. אמן ואמן. כי המלכות שלך היא ולמאה תמלוך בכבוד, כי אין לנו מלך אלא אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, המלך בכבודו, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ועל כל מעשיו. יגדל ויקדש שמי רבה, ויעמד דברי קראתי וימליך מלכותד, חייכון ויומייכון וחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בזמן קריב, אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ומלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קדושה בריחו. אלא מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בימיו, ואמרו אמן.
Tonight at the Amidah, we have two insertions, two additions to the service. On page 212, at the top of the page, is the Atachon Antanu for the end of Shabbat. And then on page 216, in the middle of the page, indented, is the insertion for Rosh Chodesh, 216 and 212. יעלה ויבוא ויגיע ויראה וירצה וישמע ראש החודש הזה זכרנו לטובה ופגענו לברכה ושנבוא בחיים. זהו חיי We continue at our own pace, and Ben will pick up Kaddish Shalem on page 222. Kaddish Shalem.
יגדל ויקדש שמי רבה,
Amen.
דבר קירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן.
Amen. Yehi
יהי שמי רבה מבורך,
Shmei
לעולם עלמי עלמי. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי תקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן ביומה, ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
יתגבר צלות הון ובעוד הון דכל ישראל, קדמה והון טיבי שמיה, ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
יהי שלום הרבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
עשה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
עלינו לשבח, oh, I'm sorry.
No. I was going to say we'll continue with Aleinu because we've got a couple of minutes till end of Shabbat, and then we'll do Havdalah. Thank you,
Okay.
Ben.
All right. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. כן לקבל. כתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We recall with love those who gave us life and those who shared life with us and are still with us in our hearts and souls, whose Yortzeit is Rosh Chodesh Nisan, Sunday, March 14th, 2021. The following names are listed in our perpetual memorials at Chizuk Amuno and are inscribed in our hearts and souls. Samuel Bloom, Saul Blumenthal, Louis Brill, Robert Dickman, Milton Falk, Bernard Ginsberg, Harry Goldberg, Donna Handelman, Albert Hendler, Martin Katz, Yeda Katzner, Isidor Legum, Leonard Manikin, Naomi Mazer, Samuel Melnick, Mary Plotkin, Paul Pumpian, Solomon Rosenberg, Bell Scher, Myron Skolnick, Lillian Torum. Jeffrey, anybody else that I missed? No. Yortzeit and Mourner's Kaddish is on page 226. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba, be'alma divrach chirutei ve'yamlich machutei, בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירם בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום Aleinu ועל כל ישראל ועמו amen. Now we turn to page 700 for Havdalah. We try very much to aim the timing so that by the time we finish Kaddish Shalem, we're okay to do Havdalah. Today we missed it just by a little bit, and Shabbat is considered quite holy, and so we took the opportunity to finish services. We light the candle and make Kiddush, which is Havdalah, to consecrate the coming days, and of course Rosh Chodesh. So whenever you see fire and you see wine, then you know this is a serious business. And we begin. Savrimanan Vabanan Gyotai, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Borei Pri Hagafen. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Borei Minei Besamim.
Amen.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Borei Meorei Ha'esh.
Amen.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, המבדיל בין קודש לחול, בין אור לחושך, בין ישראל לעמים, בין יום השביעי לששת ימי המעשה. ברוך אתה אדוני, המבדיל בין קודש לחול. מבדיל בין קודש לחול, חטאותינו ימחול, זרענו וכספנו ירבה כחול, והכוכבים בלילה. שבוע טוב, שבוע טוב, שבוע טוב, שבוע טוב. הגות אבוך, הגות אבוך, שבוע טוב, שבוע טוב. אליהו הנביא, אליהו התשבי, אליהו, אליהו, אליהו הגלעדי. במהרה בימינו יבוא אלינו, עם משיח בן דוד, עם משיח בן דוד. אליהו הנביא, אליהו התשבי, אליהו, אליהו, אליהו הגלעדי. Good gewenst Shvach, Mazel, Parnasse, Hatzlache, Naches von der Kinder, der Einiglich, Stock Market, und so weiter, und so weiter. Tomorrow morning at 9:30, we will have a bar mitzvah at our service. I sadly have to conduct a funeral tomorrow morning. Those of you who knew Henry Dickman, sadly his grandson passed away, and we're all heartbroken at this loss. And we wish all of us, please God, bring us redemption. We are told that on Nisan, just as we were redeemed on Nisan, we are destined to be redeemed again on Nisan. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm ready. I don't want to pack anything, but I'm ready. And I want to thank Elisa for a beautiful Dvar Torah, and for Ben for your lovely, really sweet davening. It's so Hamish. And Marshall, there's so many stories, man. You gotta, don't hang on to them. Find out what they are. Next year, a 6-part docudrama. We're ready. You're what a story, really, truly. The Jewish story. Please have a wonderful, sweet week. I want to thank Jeffrey Davis for being just so masterful at managing this secret black magic of the surreal and sublime web business. Thank you, Jeffrey, for helping us along. And to you all, please God, may he bring true healing. And to Phil Nachamovitz, a good gebench Shvach. Phil, every time I see your name up on the screen, my heart goes bing bang. I'm thrilled and honored to have you with us. Nadia Masuna, Shavua Tov, Refuah Shlema, V'kol Tuv, Amen, Amen, Amen. Have a good gebench Shvach.
שבוע טוב.
Are we doing a breakfast tomorrow?
We should, by all means, with Ann, you know what to do. And I'm sure Jonathan will tell us a